Hello and welcome to Strange Stories. It's great to have you here. We are all about sharing stories of near-death experiences from around the world in the hopes of bringing some light and inspiration to your day. Our daily videos offer a glimpse into what lies beyond this life, and we believe that they can help us all appreciate the gift of life a little bit more. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to grow. And to our returning viewers, welcome back. We're thrilled to have you with us again. So go ahead, grab a cozy blanket, get comfy, and join us for today's incredible near-death experience story.
My NDE occurred on August 22, 2008 at 1:20 p.m. I had just turned 34 years old when I awoke early that morning in excruciating pain and burning up from high fever. I couldn't even move. Even though I was in excruciating pain, I was able to reach for the phone and call a family member to be taken to the emergency room. I was in and out of consciousness, but my body was still there. At the time, I hadn't had my NDE. I had just gotten out of a CT scan and was taken to a section of the emergency room where the curtains were closed so we could wait for the results and see what happened next. I was in excruciating pain and had been for several hours at this point. I was taken to the emergency room around 7:30 a.m., so I had been through a lot. The agony was getting worse. My fever was rising and I was exhausted from being in so much pain for so long. So while lying on the hospital gurney with my eyes closed, I started convulsing and my head was pounding. I could feel the veins bursting. I thought my head was going to explode from the stress. And when I realized I couldn't take it any longer, I went very internal. I disconnected completely from the outside world, from everyone and everything around me, from everything outside of my body. I told myself that I was going to die. This is how it feels to die, and I wasn't afraid. It was simply a matter of fact knowing. I popped out of my body at that precise moment. I was no longer attached to my body, and the pain had vanished. I was so detached that I didn't realize I was on the ceiling of the room I was in, and I was looking down at the scene below me where my body was lying on the gurney. But I could see that my essence was no longer a part of that body. It was simply the shell of who I am. I noticed people scurrying around me. I felt their various emotions of fear, bewilderment, wondering what was going on, taking action and assessing. And I was only looking at it from an observer's point of view. I was just observing and almost noting what was going on. And I began to float up and I noticed these little balls of light energy pinging and bouncing around. And those were the souls of everyone who'd been admitted to the hospital. And I saw how each white light ball, each soul was linked by a thin iridescent line. This is oneness and the way we are all connected. And then everything began to pick up speed. And I felt myself quickly entering the tunnel. It felt like I was on a roller coaster because it was fast and you never knew what would happen, but it was thrilling. It was exciting and almost joyful in the sense of, oh, I wonder where this is going to take me, and the tunnel ride was only a few minutes long. Then I jumped out of the tunnel and into the white light, and the tunnel was pitch black on the inside. So being suddenly immersed in this bright, beautiful white light took some getting used to. And then, after a brief moment of adjustment, I felt a tremendous amount of love. I love that I get emotional just thinking about it today. It was the purest, most unconditional love I've ever known. It was love for me that was pure and unconditional, regardless of what I'd done in my life or what I'd been through. On Earth, the closest I've ever come to that feeling of love was when my daughter was born shortly after my NDE. I remember looking in her eyes and she looking in mine the first time she was handed to me and the first time I held her, and that love that I felt for her and that I could feel that she felt for me, that her soul could feel for me. It was extremely pure and unconditional. The love and the light is even bigger and deeper than that, which is difficult for me to comprehend as a human being returning to a human body. It's because I was stripped of my ego while out of my body during my NDE. My brain's limitations were removed from me. I was liberated from the constraints of my body, and the light I was in was free of them as well. There was enough space for this total, deep, unconditional, and pure love. Even though I'd been in a lot of pain in the hours leading up to my NDE, I forgot about it all at once. I was out of my body and in the light. I know there's a lot of fear of death, and I was also afraid of what would happen next. I believe many of us are concerned about how we will die. Will it be quick, or will we have to endure a great deal of pain or illness? A lot of the peace I felt once I was in the light came from the fact that whatever I had to go through in order to transition out of my body, even if it was excruciating pain, wasn't even a thought at the time. For me, it was just something in the background. So knowing that death is in the end brings a lot of peace. Life is only a book, and however we eventually leave our bodies, there's nothing but peace and love waiting for us on the other side. I didn't want to go back into my body after that wonderful experience in the light. That was the only location I desired. You must return, I heard the firm but gentle and loving voice say. And I continued to protest, claiming that I wanted to stay longer, but I knew it wasn't a negotiation. Despite my protests, I felt myself being nudged back into the tunnel, lovingly nudged back into the tunnel, very quickly backwards through the tunnel. Then, all of a sudden, I was back in my body. I returned to my body via the top of my head, and then I was fully in my body long enough to realize I was back in this world, no longer in that white light. The pain returned quickly. I was then knocked out for several hours. I didn't find out until much later that evening that I had a kidney stone that had become lodged in my ureter. So all of the toxins that are normally filtered out by our kidneys were being reintroduced into my bloodstream. In addition, my entire bloodstream had become infected. My internal organs were infected and shutting down, and I was in septic shock. I noticed a couple of family members who appeared terrified and concerned. There was medical personnel present. My surgeon was present, and I wanted to reassure everyone that they shouldn't be concerned. I would not have been sent back if I was supposed to die, if I was supposed to be dead, if this was the end for me. But I was unable to do so. To be honest, it took me several years to process a lot of what I truly learned during my near-death experience and when I was in that beautiful light. And it was the assurance that everything was fine. When we're in our bodies, the phrase, all is well, doesn't make sense. We don't have a complete picture of what's going on when we're in our bodies. We don't see everything that's going on. And we have that 360-degree perspective when we're out of our bodies, when we're in the light. When we've transitioned out and are stripped of ego and the limitations of our brain and our body, and when you have that 360-degree perspective, when you see the entire picture, saying that everything is fine makes perfect sense. And it's still bringing me a lot of peace now that I'm back in my body. I have a favorite quote that always helps to keep me in that peaceful place where everything is fine and everything is flowing. And despite the fact that nature is slow, everything gets done. And there's a lot of truth in that. We just need to get out of our own way long enough for that to happen. So following my NDE, I was very motivated to examine and heal my trauma. And while healing isn't always fun, it's well worth it because you want those holes filled in and to feel whole again so you can live in the peace of being your true and authentic self. So you can experience the abundance, love, and joy of truly being aligned with your soul's purpose. Your trauma will lead you to the location of your healing, and it is from your trauma and conditioning that we learn. And I truly believe that our parents and caregivers did the best they could with what they had. It's taken me a long time to be able to say that and truly believe it, as well as to heal any resentments I may have harbored. There's also a lot of peace once you get there. And if we can all look at our traumas, look at our wounding, and do what we can to treat it, our holes will begin to fill back in, our wounds will heal, and we will begin to feel complete here on earth so we can live out our true purpose. Your purpose is to be where you are at any given time, and knowing that brings a lot of comfort. If you're having a good or bad day, if you yelled at your kids that day, or if you had a great day with your kids that day, you're always in your soul's purpose because we're all here to learn. We're not meant to be perfect every single day in order to fulfill our soul's purpose. We're all still learning. We're all changing. We're all making good progress. And while we're here to learn, school is the planet. The earth is a school, and it can feel like the school of hard knocks at times. It's not entirely serious. A playground is available at every school. So go find your playground and have some fun, because it's not all serious. And we do need to lighten up from time to time. If you've ever seen a group of kids on the playground trying to come up with a game to play, they're inventing one. They have so many different ideas and are ecstatic to get the game started. But if you put a group of adults on the same playground to invent a game, the first thing we're going to do is think of everything that could go wrong in the game. And what if that doesn't work out? And what is the rule in this case? What is your role? That is extremely serious. And while that is sometimes necessary, we can learn a lot from the children who get together as a group to have fun, play a game, and simply do what feels good. That has a lot of lessons for us. Every day, we all have a purpose. We're all here for a reason, and sometimes the purpose is simply to exist. You don't have to be constantly doing. Being is often all you need because it allows the flow to happen. It keeps you from constantly getting in the way of the beauty that is trying to unfold in your life and the lives of those around you, and your soul, intuition, and higher self are always there to guide you and show you synchronicity and to open doors for you and close doors that aren't meant for you, and just getting quiet enough and continuing to work on your healing so you can hear the wisdom of your intuition coming through. Your soul recognizes you. Your soul knows whether you received the message today, in 6 months, or in 6 years. Your soul is already aware. You will never be rushed. All you have to do is try to be quiet enough to hear.